So Swadharma, you did say that moksha, when you have moksha as your goal, it is easy to follow your Swadharma. But in general, everybody, meaning majority of the people don't have moksha as their goal, right? Meaning, um, so I'm just thinking, Krishna, when he talks to Arjuna about this, Arjuna is already confused. He's attached to his gurus, and he's struggling to do his swadharma. So doesn't so he's unclear about his swadharma. Is it so? Swadharma is definitely affected by tamoguna or rajasguna, rajoguna, right? Meaning um, uh, uh, a relatively quiet mind, I think it's easy to get what your duty is, right? Meaning when our minds are cluttered with things, attachment, or that's when there is uh, there's no clarity in one's swadharma. Correct. So I think to clear that chatter is a prerequisite for swadharma.
Yeah. So we can answer it differently also. Sometimes our Swadharma is clear. Okay. So if you just look at a family itself, so whether who needs to help the other person, parents help the children, or children have to help the parents when the parents are old. All this is also Swadharma, correct? So there the Swadharma is clear. But okay, there Swadharma is clear. We don't have to have moksha as the goal in order to understand Swadharma, correct? So your point is taken. So moksha need not be clear, or neither am I studying Shastram, all this not needed. So there the Swadharma is quite clear, at least in our society. I don't know, other societies, I still need to study that, and West and all, how it is in America, whether they look up, it looks like they don't, I mean, everybody does take care of their parents, but at the same time, they don't have the family system like we do, and where children and parents live together, that you can only see in India, it looks like. And anyway, that's besides the point. But yeah, so very true. Chatter, you use the word, interesting word, chatter. And it does makes things a little harder to decide, and harder to do, and harder to stick to something. So our problem is sticking to something, and you seem to be easily shaken out of that. And yeah, definitely uh, a better vision of ourselves, a better view of our own life will help us understand our Swadharma as well as follow that Swadharma. Very true about that. Very true. That's true.
Also, a quick mention. So Swadharma, we also said that the comparison, but this is comparison, right? Um, you brought the Western society in America. Their family system is different. It's more right based than duty based. So so when we compare that, right? When we compare uh, our Indian way of thinking, this is our swadharma, you know but a mother has duty towards her child, but then you see a lot of parents, or a lot of they they have their issues, and they are not able to take care of their child, so drugs or poverty or whatever that may be. So that mother, so swadharma sometimes, meaning, is it instinctual? Is it something that, I'm going back to the guna. So I'm going back to that. So if one has tamoguna or rajoguna, it does affect one's Swadharma, right?
Yeah, so you said two different things. One is the physical or mental inability of a mother to actually take care of a child. So drugs, for example, if I can use that example that you gave, then there are families where our picture of an ideal family doesn't exist in that family. Okay, it doesn't work like that, and everything is up in the air, and so then we have to think about a different solution for, and so dharma has to be interpreted. Dharma itself has to be interpreted. So in that case, you have to interpret what is the best thing for this family. Should the child be in this home or what? No, the child should not be in this home. Maybe that's the answer to that situation. So therefore we should never ever, we can never write a rule. This is a rule. Without exceptions, you can never write that rule. Every rule has to be interpreted, and there's no rule that is not interpreted. So even the rule of the road is to go on the right in America. Rule of the road is left. That rule is interpreted. People always don't travel. There are certain situations where we have to, it looks like we are violating the rule, but we are really not violating the rule. We are interpreting it correctly. Correct. So that we have to always keep in mind. And so let me know if that helps you a little bit. And you may have other questions also.
Dhanyavada. I think it's something that needs to be pondered upon.
Yeah.
Mahodaya, one question. This is Harat Prasad.
Yeah.
In
Yes.
Sloka 34, the second sentence, you said Vashamagat Chet. You added a takara at the end. Is that correct?
I added a takara at the end.
Yeah. You said Tayorna Vashamagat Chet, right?
Right.
Is that correct? My
So,
book doesn't say that.
so I did not add takara. Bhagavan Sri Krishna added takara. Veda Vyasa added takara.
Huh?
There are two T's there. Two ta, two T.
No, there's only one.
Yeah, I'm afraid you have to correct that. You have to take a pencil and then correct that thing, I think. Because agachet is a verb. So it's a vidhiling verb. And then tau.
Tau.
Tau is saha taute, right?
My book does not have
Prathama
that.
vibhakti dvivachanam. So
Okay.
agachet plus tau, you must, two T's are sitting next to each other.
Okay, my
Yeah, is
book
it?
does not have it. Okay.
Okay.
That's fine.
Right. Okay. Sri Vidya.
Guruji, my question as for this Swadharma is uh, here Arjuna, it is taught to Arjuna who is in conflict with himself, whether to fight or not. And if he thinks that it is not proper for him to fight, uh, he go by his own self knowledge or swadharma, or it should be taught by someone like Krishna, which is the swadharma he will think that that is right.
Yeah. So see, Arjuna knows his Swadharma, really speaking. Really speaking, Krishna is not reminding Arjuna what his Swadharma is. He knows very well what his Dharma is. That is why he is running to Krishna for help. Because he knows where he should be. But there's a problem. Relationships are pitted against duty. That is where the problem is. See, we all follow Swadharma until conflicts arise. Right? Until I have to shout at my own family members. That's when problem arises. Everywhere else, our Swadharma is very clear. Only when relatives, when friends are involved, and how could she do it? That's now what should I do? Should I make a phone call and give her my peace of mind? Or should I have what kind of conversation will that be? Should I keep it low decibel or high decibel, this is where the problem arises. It's not like Arjuna does not know what Swadharma is. He knows it very well. And in fact, even though there are words here that apparently, okay, so Uttishta and all he says, and but then really speaking, Krishna is not telling him what to do, because otherwise this book will become a Dharma Shastra. This Bhagavad Gita is not Dharma Shastra, it is Moksha Shastra. And so Krishna is saying these are the facts, and so Arjuna has a conflict. Arjuna knows exactly where he should be, but he's never been in that kind of a situation where he was forced to attack his own teacher. Can you imagine that? What kind of conflict that can create? That's all. That is the situation there. And
now coming back to our lives here. So when you are always challenged, when you want to proceed on your swadharma, or proceed your life according to your swadharma, and you are constantly attacked by not feeding to the other swadharma. So somebody else would have other values in life altogether. So if you are constantly attacked to follow others swadharma, what to do in that situation?
correct. So that's a typical situation many of us are in,
Yes,
is it
yes,
not?
yeah. So how
Yeah.
do they teach them that it is not my swadharma, it is your vision of your swadharma, but my mind is something else. I want this, and I want to lead this life in complete peace with this swadharma. So how to teach them, or how to tell them softly at least?
How to tell them softly is you tell them softly. That is a way to tell them softly. Okay. By telling them softly, you tell them softly. That's all I can say. What else can you do? Or you tell it softly, record it in WhatsApp, and then send them a WhatsApp message. That also you can do. And so these are all uncomfortable situations, right? And so the way to deal with an uncomfortable situation is to be creative. Those days we used to write letters, postcard and inland letter we used to have in India. And maybe it's time to write a letter, who knows? And maybe email, who reads email these days? There was a time when email was the in thing, and today people are saying, what, you sent me an email? They're asking that kind of question as though email is something, so email also people don't read. So I think we have to learn these things. These are all important. Really, it's a good question, and we need to teach our children also how to resolve conflicts and how to deal with uncomfortable situations. And sometimes we just have to write a letter, write an email, and or a letter, something in written, so you express your feelings carefully, because you may be afraid that if I call them, I may say things I should not say, because I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm confused, and I'm furious. All these things can make one say very wrong things also. If that's the fear, you put everything in writing and write it. And you can even say things that when we write, what happens is we become saner. Our language is better. Have you ever thought about
Yes,
that?
yes.
Talking versus writing. Talking, it just keeps on coming, and sometimes you don't know what we say also. So I think we have to be creative in these areas. We is what my point is, Srividya.
Most of the times we are pushed to a situation that we don't want to express our feelings, and we don't want to harm them also, and just walk away. In that case also we are seen as a negative person.
So that's why sometimes it is important to attend these kinds of classes. You know why? Then you can say, come, let's go and talk to our Guruji. Let's see what he says. Sometimes we do that. We just drag them and say that this is what is happening. You sort out the problem for us. So in a way, you bring a third party. Guruji means what? You bring a third party and say, somebody whom both trust. If they both don't trust the
That
person,
is
then it won't work. Then it won't work. but something like that. So that's why we need to develop that circle of people who are who are trusted in the family. Everybody in the family, children, parents, will trust one person. Whatever that person says is respected and honored. To have such a person in one's family is so important, very important. There's no family without conflict. Conflicts constantly arise, and sometimes we just need somebody else to sort out conflicts in our family. So
I have something for Sri Vidya ji. I totally relate with what she brought up. There'll always be people in the family who do not agree with our goals. But if we are very, so the first step is for ourselves, to work on ourselves, to have that clarity that this is my goal. And then I think that gives you the Shakti to be assertive, to communicate that to the family member, that this is, this is, and also it gives you the Shakti to be a bit more compassionate with the other person who is opposing your goal. And another thing is, I think we need to work on ourselves, this innate insecurity about getting approval from the other person, right? Meaning, this is my goal. So I have this expectation that I will be supported by another person, that this is your goal, this is important for you. So I will make sure that, I think those things, if we work on ourselves and just rely on ourselves and a satsanga, and not rely on this significant other or children or whatever to support your goal, I think things fall into place to a certain extent, but the struggle is there definitely. When you're constantly seeing them, their uh, dialogue and all that. But I think this constant prayer to give you Shakti to go through it, I think it definitely works. It definitely,
Yeah.
so prayerfully I will say that just rely on more prayer.
Yeah, maybe. See, it's not my question at all. See, yeah, I see everyone in our family or outside also have this conflicts between themselves and attacked by negative forces. But it is easy. It's not easy to build a wall uh, to our goals. That's the problem.
good. Yeah, this will be ongoing discussion. And Sapna, your comments are appreciated. Very nicely
Thank
stated.
you.
Appreciate that. Yeah. So we've got a few more here. Raghavan, go ahead.
Namaste, Guruji. So I have like two questions. The first question is in current context, right? Is Swadharma anyway related to our profession, like which we are doing for in our daily life, like whatever the profession we are doing, is it related to Swadharma or not related? That is my first question, because we don't have any the Varna system as we had before. No, times are changing, so everybody is now either into like we are working for an employer kind of environment. So everyone, most of them are like we were working for some company. So is Swadharma related to profession or is it different in the current context? That is my first question. Second is here Krishna was in this sloka. We are talking about even though we are imperfect in doing our Swadharma, we should continue to do it. Uh, and even if you are doing another Swadharma, another person's Swadharma perfectly, we should not do that. So here I'm not able to understand this properly. I'm like, though that there was an example given. Um, I think, like for example, Vishwamitra was a sage. Vishwamitra was a Kshatriya initially, and but he became one of the Maharishis. So how does this example and Krishna's teaching actually relate to? Actually, I'm not able to. I'm getting confused actually with the
Yeah.
teaching.
So doing the dharma of other is like the discussion we've been having with Sri Vidya and others. And see, sometimes let's go back to the example of children. This is where it works. And so, child is good in studies, studying very well, okay, and in subjects and mathematics and sciences, everything he or she is doing very well, okay, and the person is extremely good in music also, and the boy says, I want to study music. Now tell me what an Indian parent will, how will the Indian parent respond to that? I want to study music in bachelor's, I want to do a master's in music, and I also want to do a PhD in music, okay. Now, so there, see, look at that. There, the person, the student, why I said good in studies is the person can do any other field also properly. Okay, can study, whether it is engineering or medicine or whatever, can do properly. But that is not the person's swadharma. Means it looks like that is not the person's desire. However good I am in that, I don't. My heart goes to music. Okay. So that's the way to look at this. Look at that, which is that that means the person says, I may be doing that well, but really I won't be happy there. That is not where my heart lies. My heart lies elsewhere. Okay. So that is how you want to look at this paradharmo bhayavaha, etc. Okay. Then profession swadharma. Yeah, profession swadharma. Profession is needed because to livelihood. Swadharma is livelihood. So one has to make a livelihood. The question is, how are you going to make your livelihood? Whatever we know, based on what we know, we make a livelihood. We study, we get a degree, and then we, get a job. And what kind of job do you get? What kind of degree you get? So all this is where we have an opportunity to go with what we innately love to do. We have an opportunity. That's all I'm saying. And then profession, of course, profession is there, but you keep Swadharma in mind all the time. Hey, what they talk about work-life balance, correct? Work-life balance. What is it? How does it come? It's a Swadharma discussion only. Work-life balance means what? Means don't get carried away by your work. That is the meaning, because there is something else in your life called call your wife or your husband, and your family, etc. And they are, in fact, what did they say? Somebody said once, I still remember it. He said, hey, if you die, your company will replace you in 2 weeks, but your family can never replace you. Forever, they will be struggling with what happened. Okay, they say that. And when I heard that statement, I said, yeah, it's so true. And therefore, you just think about yourself, your family, everything first, and then do whatever you have to do and do it properly. And so Swadharma there is whatever profession you do. Two answers. One is whatever your profession is part of your Swadharma, because you have to earn a livelihood. So that's your Swadharma. Second is what kind of profession you do. That's a little uh, finer, because then, okay, if you don't like what you're doing, then what? How are you going to deal with that? You can either learn to like what you do, correct? You can learn to love what you do. That's possible. And say, this is what I'm doing, and okay, I'll manage with this somehow, and then I can pull along, right? Or I can change my profession. But at the same time, I always keep this number one in view. Number one is my family, and then my Vedic dharma and all that in view. Both go along together. Yeah. So any other doubts, Raghavan? It's not an easy thing. When we answer a question like this, we are not saying these things are easy to do. Okay, please understand this. Because I don't want you to say, oh, Guruji just said it and went away. I don't want you to say that. And none of these are easy. This is not, just because we made a statement doesn't mean it's easy to implement. And we have to work it out. We have to, takes effort, like Swapna said, you have to work on yourself before you work on other people. Often we try to work on other people, right? Before we work on ourselves.
I have a question, Jay Kumar ji. Swadharma, according to what you said, depending on the Varnashrama Dharma, it is already some of them are prescribed. We need to have clarity about that. And another thing is from what we have been talking, like, what we like definitely is something that we should pursue. Do you say that something that helps in our growth is our Swadharma? Spiritual growth, like something that helps in our spiritual growth is our Swadharma, then apart from the Varnashrama Dharma?
Yeah, so sure, absolutely. That's why Vedas says that. Vedas says, what does it say? Dharmanna, dharmanna pramaditavyam. So may you not be indifferent to your dharma. Means right and wrong, basic right and wrong. Dharmanna pramaditavyam. Then kushalanna pramaditavyam. Kushala. So going back to that interpretation, don't take everything literally. So somebody gave the example of Swapna gave the example of a family. Child is born in a family that's dysfunctional. Okay, then that swadharma of the people may be different, etc. So so kushalanna pramaditavyam, and then what? Bhutyaina pramaditavyam. Then swadhyaya pravachanabhyanna pramaditavyam. Swadhyaya, study of one's shaka, one's Veda, is our dharma. Therefore, it's not an optional. We are thinking it may be optional. No, it's not optional, really speaking. All of us have to.
Clarity about our dharma has to be there. And then whether we like it or not, should we do that, or we should do what we love? That is where I'm getting the difference is, like, suppose I like music, but it is not my dharma, or I have no access to it or something like that. Like we were giving that example, right? So how do we interpret that interest versus what the dharma is?
Yeah, so everything you like need not be your dharma.
Yeah.
So we have to so just because I like something doesn't mean it is my dharma. So we draw a line very clearly. So survival is important and family is important. So Pancha Yajna is important. Pancha Mahayajna is important. So does it fall under Pancha Mahayajna? You can ask the question. Everything else is optional. Anything that doesn't fall in this is optional. I love photography. So what?
Yeah, okay.
So what? And are you thinking you want to make it a profession? Okay, that's a different track of thinking. Otherwise, it's optional. That's all. I don't have time for photography. It means okay, let go of the like. Don't keep worrying about it. And so we have,
another question I had, Jaykumar ji, was when there is, like, for example, when we took that example of a mother who is on drugs and, she's not doing Swadharma. But do you really expect a mother to do Swadharma when she is doing Adharma there? I mean, does Swadharma come in this situation where there is Adharma going on? There is no Swa Adharma or Para Adharma. Swadharma is when you are dharmic itself. When you're doing Adharma, question of Swadharma doesn't come.
yeah. So there the situation is that Swadharma itself is violated, and so for whatever reason it's violated, then the system takes control of the situation. Okay, somebody is not doing the basic duty or unable to do the basic duty. Then whose duty it is now? Whose duty? Should the state take over? Should the neighbors take over? Should the relatives come and take over? What is the duty? Should the brother,
They do here, at least, is it is either the extended family or the foster care that takes children's services, they take over immediately. So yes, we have a backup here, but the situation might be different in India, where extended family takes care.
Correct. That's what we mean. Yeah. Vaidya. Yeah, you can unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you, Jaykumar. Yeah, so I wanted to make a couple of comments. So first one is Swadharme Nidanam Shreyaha. So it's very interesting. So this is also the motto of the Madras Regiment of the Indian Army. Swadharme Nidanam Shreyaha.
Oh,
It's one of
really?
the oldest regiments in the army, and very appropriate too, right?
Very appropriate. Very appropriate.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Madras Regiment, is it? Oh, the
Yeah.
first regiment, one of the first regiments at least. Yeah.
Correct. Correct.
Very
So
interesting.
if you Google it, you'll see it. and then also the Indian Air Force. This is later on. It will come in I think the Vishwarupa Darshanam, that chapter. Nabasprisham Deeptam. That is the motto of the Indian Air Force.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I should.
Okay, and then the third thing I wanted to mention. This is about your point about India, the wealth of India and so on. So about 15 years ago, Jay Kumarji was taking an MBA class at Northwestern, and I was taking an international business class. And I made a point to the professor that India is actually, was a rich country before, colonial times. And the reason it was rich was, the country was very productive and we engaged in foreign trade. So we were able to, just like China has become rich, we were rich in those days. China was always rich, so even in those days, India was also rich. And the professor actually agreed with me. And then he actually said, if you look at Adam Smith's Wealth of Nations, that was published in the 1770s. Adam Smith, this British guy, is actually a Scottish guy. He actually says the wealth of India is because, the people specialize and, were highly productive, and hence they had a comparative advantage versus other countries in the world. So our, Varnashrama Dharma gave us that competitiveness against other countries in the world. Even though Indian society was not competitive, because the society was cohesive, we could do, great things.
Okay.
Can I
So
add to that?
interesting perspective. So competition itself not being a goal of our society does not mean that we could not compete against others in the world. Very
Yes.
interesting.
I'd like to make a comment. That there's
Yeah.
a YouTube video by Dr. Subramaniam Swami, I think, that describes why duties were assigned between these four classes in ancient Indian society. Basically, there are four types of power he describes, right? Knowledge, weapons, wealth, and land. And all four should not be with one group of people. So they were distributed. Knowledge was given to Brahmanas. I mean, they were in charge of the knowledge. Weapons, Kshatriyas, wealth by Vaishyas, and land by Shudras. Nobody else was allowed to own land, I believe. So he describes how it was established so you don't have this corruption, right? When everything is under one group of people.
Correct. Yeah, good division of they have that even in companies and things like that, where certain responsibilities are divided, so there is the conflict of interest is minimized. Yeah, good. I think I've seen that talk long ago. Subramanian Swami's talk. Yeah. Mahesh, go ahead.
Yeah, my question, most of it was asked by Raghavanji. So, but on the same line, I wanted to ask, but for in this Gita context, Arjuna's Swadharma was known because he's a Kshatriya, so he has to fight. So in the same way, the examples you gave for children, or Raghavanji mentioned about the profession or the work we do to earn a living. How do you know, just because you are born as a Brahmana or somebody else, does it automatically become that Swadharma? Or because I listened to one of the Swamiji's lecture, I don't remember the name, a few years ago, where he made a statement that everybody is born as Sudra, and based on what they learn, like if you go through the Vedashala and learn everything, you become a Brahmana. Or you go through army or air force or train, you become a Shakti, like that. So how do you, in today, as a follow-up on Raghavanji's question, in our current, whatever profession or work we choose for livelihood, I mean, that may or may not be our Swadharma, right? I mean, because we are born in certain caste or creed or whatever.
Yeah, so we don't want to complicate this too much. What in our situation, what we do is this. Karma Yoga Buddhi is important. Number two, whatever you can do for the Vedic Dharma, you do. To the extent you can, you do. That's all. We are not really questioning whether you're in the right profession and wrong profession and all that. We are assuming that all that is taken care of. And so support. And then Pancha Maha Yajna. So the Bhuta Yajna is there, environment, and the Manusha Yajna, people, all these things we are all doing in various ways. All of you are doing, contributing to the society. That's it. That becomes your Pancha Yajna, that becomes your Swadharma. So we don't need to bring in, anything beyond this. This is what our Swami's advice. This is what we advise to everybody. And you are fine the way you are. If something is not fine, then we look into that. But as long as you can take care of your family first, then everybody else starts coming. Community, country, people, environment, all these things come. Pancha Mahayajna, perfect it is. And so what happened to Vedic? My people are not, I may have been divorced from my Vedic roots, etc. Okay, fine. Go search for your Vedic roots and study, take courses like this, and then get back into the groove. Nothing wrong. It's all happening. So that's my answer to you, Mahesh.
Oh, okay. And another question I have was on the previous sloka. The first sentence or the first say it said, we really have no control because we have, everybody has likes and dislikes. But let us not be, and then he says, we should not fall under the spell of these two, which is the likes and dislike. So is it not, one may say we are helpless because of the way we are. Others say we should not fall in. Isn't it contradicting?
Yeah, it appears to be contradicting. Yeah, appears like that. But he does say, but he does say, free will is there. You will come under the spell. That's where that helplessness is there. But you have to tell yourself. You have the ability to tell yourself that this is not right. That's right, etc. Yeah, it does appear contradictory. I agree with you. But it's meant to alert Arjuna. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Appears contradictory. We won't say it is contradictory. Okay.
Correct.
Because Bhagavan Sri Krishna.
Yeah. I know. That's what I'm trying to understand. Maybe I'm missing something. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Jay Kumarji.
Yeah, Prasad. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I just have a comment on the last comment which you made, that how revert the society back to through dharma, going through the dharma cycle. So the brahmanas coming, how to do their due diligence, whatever they need to do. So here I'm taking brahmana as not by birth. So that's the comment which I want to make, because this is based on one of the research paper, how it has been defined by taking trigunas and sapta dhatus, and go on to say that is the characteristics which are to be maintained. So in other words, what I'm trying to say is like Valmiki, Vishwamitra, all these people who had become actually brahmanas in the sense of their wisdom and knowledge. So I'm taking that from that perspective. That's what I want to say.
Correct. So therefore, define who Brahmana is, becomes a question.
Yes.
And Brahmana is anybody who loves the Vedas. That's it. That person who loves the Dharma. That's it. That person is a Brahmana. And that person will support that Dharma. So anybody who does that is a Brahmana. Correct. So now we can change the definition per Prasad's comment. A definition of a Brahmana.
It is guna.
Guna. It's a guna. It's pure guna. Pure guna. Jati is Jati is important. Why it's important? So because it gives a head start. And so whatever my parents do, I am born with that. Children of parents who are doctors automatically have a head start in the area of medicine. Children of a carpenter's family, automatically the child will do wonders. Okay, we used to do in when we studied engineering, we used to have something called workshop. I don't know how many of you remember all this. We had something called workshop. Yeah, some of you are raising your thumbs
we
up.
all used to have all the 4 workshops.
So we used to have workshop. So this workshop is not an ordinary thing. And you've got 6 months of carpentry. Then you have another 6 months. 6 months means semester. Semester of smithy. Smithy means blacksmith. You know, have that anvil, and then you got to hit the whole thing. You got to put it in the red hot, thing, and then you have to shape these metallic objects. Then you got another 3 semester of electrical. And then you got another semester of something else. I forgot what it is.
Machinery.
Machine. We used to operate the lathe. Lathe. And guess what? Some of us liked certain things, right? You begin to appreciate, even if you don't like it. Not everybody likes it. Madras, Chennai, it's middle of the summer. You have to sit in the smithy. You can imagine. You can just imagine how. And we are supposed to wear a dress. And khaki, we used to wear a khaki dress, thick khaki dress. And you come outside, it's the whole body, the clothes are wet. Okay. And so many people used to hate that because of that. But we get an appreciation of what it takes, what people do. And so there's a beauty to all that. And so sometimes, in our training institutes, they teach that. So after 10th grade, the children, rather than study further, 11th grade, 12th grade, like that, what they do is they join these kinds of training institutes, which enhance their ability, their skills. Somebody might say, I love computers. And so that person immediately starts building computers and, solving computer problems. And the person becomes good at it and enough to be able to make a living. So why I said this was because that father is a carpenter means the children automatically become good at it, and so they get a heads up. They get a so jati is important for that reason. After that, jati is given up. Guna takes over. What I like to do takes over.
Yeah, I remember, Jayakumarji, in my carpentry class, some of people, when we were given a piece of wood, after shaping, the wood itself disappeared. And there used to be a guy who used to do very well carpentry, and we used to all make fun of him, saying that you better go and find out from your parents that somewhere in your forefather was a carpenter.
Yeah.
So
no,
that is there. That vasana always there.
Yeah, very interesting.
It's very interesting.
So I think the idea is we don't want to. We want. What do we get out of this discussion? Let our sights be on what we love to do and what is to be done. Sometimes what is to be done need not be what I love to do. Okay, I like photography, but I have to support my family with so many means it may take a while, and so I can't simply do what I like to do. So let's not keep on saying, well, do what you like to do. It may or may not be possible. So we need to be open to those possibilities. And then dharma, and then Vedika dharma is there. Do your best. Karma yoga attitude is there. Pancha Mahayajna is there. And Vedika dharma is there. Okay, I may not be in a position where I can practice all these rituals and things like that, but I support the system. And I do my best, and I support the system. So that will take us. That's more than enough for us to support this civilization, this thought process, this worldview. Yeah. Thank you. It's about 8:20 now. You're welcome to stay back for a breakout session. Vijay, do you want to have a breakout session?
If people have time, we'll have.
Okay.
Anyway, happy Republic Day to everyone. In case you